topics, and in the week leading up to the Tour de France, a lot of it is bicycle themed. Let's welcome in today Radwagon to our chat room. Hello.
Hi, Sue.
Hello, it's very nice to meet you. We're going to talk a lot about the bunting project, the CamBunting project, which is 2,000 tiny jerseys to the good, I understand.
Yes, we said we'd want to get 2,000 jerseys in back in March, and now we've hit it, and it's been fantastic just doing that for the past 3 months. It's taken my life over, but what a way to do it.
And the reason it's taken your life over is because you're a very, very keen cyclist through and through. Are you a recreational cyclist in a middle-aged man in lycra kind of way, or is it?
Yeah, I don't try and wear the lycra very much. I try and just wear normal t-shirt and shorts kind of thing when I'm going out. But yeah, a ride in the country is lovely. Who wouldn't find that lovely? You get to see nature, you get to exercise a little bit, even though you're not thinking about it. So it's a really good thing. Also, I mean, I do cycle training for kids, so that's a big part, and I think that's really important part of what I do.
Can you still do the cycling proficiency test?
There's something called bikeability now, and there's bikeability levels 1, 2 and 3, and the old cycle proficiency test is actually bikeability 1, which we do in the school playground. Bikeability 2 is then 3 days out on the roads around the schools, and actually learning how to interact with traffic. And the important thing is the reality of that. That's what you have to do when you're cycling. So teaching kids the reality of behaving in traffic is really important. And it's a lot of it's about how to make sure traffic understands what you're doing as anything else.
Yeah, trying to second guess a cyclist who's wobbling all over the place is no fun for the guy in the car behind, is it? James Smith, are you old enough or young enough to remember cycling proficiency?
Just about. I do remember it. Don't cycle myself much these days, but yes, it's I don't like taking my life in my own hands, really, to be perfectly honest.
Well, it's interesting that there's some news out today that say that many of us would probably cycle more, but what holds us back is being a bit uncertain, feeling a bit underconfident on the roads, and perhaps being under the impression that it's a dangerous environment out there for cyclists.
I was in Amsterdam the other month, and there's an interesting concept there. Those who haven't been, you have the walkway, the cycleway, the tramway, the cars, and then the same again on the other side, and you're looking left and right all the time. But there seems to be a built-in sixth sense with every cyclist in Amsterdam that they seem to have this natural instinct. They know where each other's going, and I think they have a better understanding than we do.
Arguably it's built into the city infrastructure, rather more better than we can. Welcome to Chat Room, by the way. Chat Room today on BBC Radio Cambridge is with James Smith and Radwagon. Rad is a cycling teacher. You talked about bikeability there, which many years ago I remember doing my cycling proficiency, the whole painted road markings on the school playground, wobbling your way around.
That's right, yes.
Learning how to ride with one hand sticking out here.
Yeah, we do all of that. We use cones nowadays and lots of high fives and things like that, so it's a bit of fun. Try to make it a little bit more fun than maybe it was back then. I remember doing it as well. Don't remember much from it, I have to admit. We
recently, on this part of the programme, talked a bit about whether or not swimming is one of those life skills that all children should be taught. It's something that we should all be able to do. Do you think there's an argument there for cycling as well, that it perhaps ought to be a very fundamental part of growing up? I mean, every kid growing up, even today's kids generally, at some point in your childhood, you are given a bike for Christmas or your birthday.
Yeah. And I think this is, I know lots and lots of kids, and the first thing they want to really do, it's what gives them independence, the whole concept of being able to get onto their bike. They then don't have to be, hung on to mum and dad's arm or whatever. They can then go out and just enjoy being outdoors and enjoy being a little way away. And we're a little bit worried about that kind of thing now, and we probably ought not to be quite so worried about letting kids have their own independence and be able to learn what it's like to be independent and learn how to deal with things themselves.
Yeah, I was trying very hard outside our village shop the other day, where there's a group of, 12, 13-year-old guys who'd flung their bikes down on the pavement and they'd gone into the shop, I don't know, for a can of something and a packet of something. And I was tutting a little bit, and then I thought, no, this is exactly what I did when I was 11, 12, 13. I would cycle like crazy with my 50p to the local shop and fling the bike on the pavement and go in, and that was kind of your typical summer afternoon.
Absolutely.
It was an after-school activity to just knock around on your bike.
I did exactly the same. I tended to cycle around the hills because we lived in a village and the shops weren't that far away. But yeah, exactly, the independence of just doing something yourself and being able to get a little further than you can by foot. I mean, foot is a great way to get around, but you still are quite limited. With a bike, you can get the distances car journeys normally afford you, and we really need this kind of thing to pick up in terms of kids being able to not have to rely on their mum and dad to take them to the, to the rugby match they have to go to, the football match they have to go to. They can cycle there. It's all near enough for them. What we need, as you were quite rightly saying earlier, is a change in the way in which we look at our roads, and thinking about how we get kids out cycling, and people out cycling without feeling the perception of the worry of the danger. And it is a perception, because actually the risk isn't there. It's just the same as normal living, cycling.
I bet James was a cool kid. I bet you had a BMX or something.
I was a drifter, actually.
Yeah.
And then a Peugeot mountain bike, and I think the trouble was when I was 17, the car came along, and I'm now one of those drivers that toots at the cycling. But I think you're right.
Or you tut, or both.
Just a tut. I wouldn't say that's dangerous. That is dangerous.
It is. Yeah.
I think you're right though. It's if you ingrain it and you can keep it through those informative teenage years. I think that's very, because now the older you get, the more wary you become of.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Of danger, really.
As I was saying earlier, there's less risk than we think. It's much more to do with perceived risk, and getting some training, getting cycle training will teach you actually how to minimise that risk, how to make that, how to make yourself visible, which is really important on the road. That's probably the most thing. And funnily enough, that's nothing to do with high vis or helmets or anything like that. It's to do with road position and what you're doing to look around you. And that's the way in which we can get cycling.
More education needs to go to the driver, really.
I mean, I'm probably
it's the side of the argument, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a very difficult thing. One of the great things about driving safety forwards is you don't rely on training. What you do is you rely on designing your way around it. So, for instance, in the construction industry and many other industries, what they've done to change the way in which to really massively reduce their any kind of injury and whatever that they did have, what they did is they designed their way around it. They didn't try and train their way. They didn't try and train people. People always make mistakes. That's the issue with training. As much training as you can have, you can still make a mistake. But if you design the system so that you don't have, the mistakes don't give you a problem, then you've got a much, much better way of getting around.
What's the first thing you teach little kiddies then? When you're teaching them how to be confident on a bike, how to cycle with confidence and be a good all-round cyclist on the roads, what's the first?
The very, very first thing, and this is where a different kind of training that we do, and I've done this as well, is called balance bike training, which you do at 4 years old. And you just give the kids the confidence to be able to stay balanced.
I wish they made those sort of grown-up size.
Yeah, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? They used to have them 150 years ago, but
that's right,
no longer.
And then they invented the pedal.
Yeah, it all went downhill, we hope, from there.
So that's you learn balance.
Balance is really important. That's really important. Balance and confidence.
Brian and Hadnam wants to know, at what point do you teach them about red lights?
The old red light story. Yeah. It's always a problem.
Bumping up on the pavements. When do you teach them that?
That's all part of level 2. I quite agree that it's important that we don't cycle through red lights and we don't bump up onto the pavement, and we talk about that. It's actually sometimes quite difficult about pavements because there are so many pavements now that are shared use, and it means that. I
got scowled at on Sunday.
Oh no, I don't like
that. By a pedestrian who I was cycling towards, and it was a shared pavement.
Yeah.
I don't think they realised that.
This is again where James's experience of the Netherlands system is so much different, because there isn't a shared space. There is space for people to walk and space for people to cycle, and that is fundamental, and that makes sure you don't have the conflict. And I think that's really important.
Confidence as well.
It raises confidence amongst everybody.
To call on your artistic eye here, did you find some beauty? Peterborough. And we've got Radwagon alongside as well. We're going to talk about jerseys, those teeny weeny cycling jerseys, of which there's some 2,000 strung up around the city centre of Cambridge at the moment. So we'll talk about how fabulously bonkers an idea it was in just a little while. But I'll look on the weather.
Not for me.
We've got Radwagon alongside as well. Shall we talk a bit about bunting?
Oh gosh, yes, please do that.
Well, this bunting project, is this art or just a bit of fun? What do you reckon, James? a bit of wonderful Cambridge bonkersness?
No, there's definitely design in it, as Rad was pointing out. I mean, all the colours. We have the green one, which is
Points jersey.
the yellow one,
Which is overall classification.
the red dots,
Polka dot is mountain climbers,
and the white one.
young riders.
And I think there is a brilliant piece of design and craft and engineering gone into that. Whether it's on the art side of things, I think that's how it's presented. That's all in the representation. But
Yeah.
I think, no, it's fantastic design.
There's a wonderful series of photographs on social media yesterday, Rad, you and your team, going around all the shops in Cambridge who've got this as part of their frontage. I don't know that there's any retail establishment in Cambridge that hasn't gotten the idea. Okay, maybe a few. Okay, won't talk about them then. No. But in the main, the beating heart of Cambridge has thought, yeah, it's a bit nuts, but let's go with it.
It's been fantastic. The shops in central Cambridge have just grabbed hold of it with both hands, and they love it. Well, actually going around and delivering this bunting to them is just a joy. Volunteers come forward to do that because the pleasure in people's eyes and the joy of them taking photographs, and actually we'd like lots and lots of people to take photographs, because it is this kind of thing that's happened with a lot of people. This is, as James is saying, it's not really art, it's craft, but it's a community thing. We've had 400 people knitting. We've had 6,000 hours worth of work done to get this there, and just the kind of cuteness of these little jerseys has just caught everybody's imagination. And as I say, lots and lots of photos we're trying to get, and there is actually a competition, so you might win a bike, thanks to a local shop who've included it in one of their competitions. So
to rewind back several months, as soon as it was announced that Cambridge would host one of the stages, did the cyclist in you go, oh?
No. I'm afraid I can put my hands up and say I plagiarised. A friend of mine, Althea Smith from Pateley Bridge, she was knitting one day, and I just looked at these jerseys and went, that's so cool, we've got to do that. And that was for Harrogate, so that was the part of the Yorkshire thing. I tweeted the picture, and actually the BBC said, this is wonderful, let's tweet it out and look for volunteers. And that was the beginning. That was the beginning. It was and it's just gone on from strength to strength. We just, every time anything's happened, it's been a joy to meet new people who are just enthusiastic and really excited about doing something. A lot of them haven't got a clue about cycling and don't care about the Tour de France or whatever, or certainly that's how it started. I'm suspecting a lot of them are going to be watching on Monday. So that's a really kind of really good thing. It's created something, a community. It's taken a community and let them see the joy of this.
Who's knitted all of these jerseys?
It's been across a whole series of voluntary groups. I do have to say we've got a big thank you to the Women's Institute of Cambridgeshire. They came in early on and just went utterly nuts for it. They loved it. It's gone through from the chairperson of the Women's Institute and gone throughout Cambridgeshire. It's also, we've got people in Oxfordshire who've done it, people in Surrey have done it, people in Kent have done it. Actually, we've even had jerseys from Australia. How about that? So it's focused on Cambridge, but we've had them everywhere. And as I say, a big up to the Women's Institute. They've been a backbone to us all. So that's really where it's come from.
And most of them are up now.
Most of them are up. There are a few shops that haven't got around quite to putting them out in their display. I'd urge them to put them up soon, because people are going around and photographing your shop fronts, and that's not just amateurs like me doing it. It's actually news people are doing it, and think what it would be to have your shop on a website or a news desk somewhere. I think it's a really positive thing for all of Cambridgeshire businesses. So,
yeah, and loads of businesses have been buying into this idea, as I say, and you've nicked it wholesale from Yorkshire, of course, which hosts the first 2 stages of the tour. Wasn't I reading somewhere quite recently that some of that bunting was being taken down because it was cited as being a health and safety risk, because if it got waterlogged, that then it might sag too much or something?
Yeah, you've got to remember that when these jerseys get a bit wet, they are actually quite heavy. I don't know the ins and outs. It was a village called Massam up in Yorkshire. I don't know the ins and outs of exactly what happened there. I did see what I thought were quite long bunting strings, and maybe that had something to do with it, but again, I don't know what happened. We did check ours. We kind of had, because contractors were putting up for us in the city centre, we asked them what we should do, and we stuck to a maximum length and a specific kind of cord to hang it up by. So it was quite good. Ironically, I'm going to be in that village on Saturday, so I shall visit the people there and say hello.
I don't imagine Yorkshire folk would take it lying down anyway.
No.
Authorities or no authorities. So you're heading up to Yorkshire yourself at the weekend?
I am.
And back down to Cambridge?
Dashing back down to Cambridge
for
just to see if I can see anything that's happening on Sunday evening, and obviously on Monday to just enjoy the tour itself. Whatever happens on Monday will be fantastic, I think. I think there's a lot of people who are going to have a lot of fun.
So the world's biggest cycle race, arguably one of the world's biggest sporting events
Indeed.
at that, comes to your doorstep next week. How crazy is that?
It's going to be pretty full on. I think people have cottoned on by now in Cambridge just how much of a big job this is. I mean, I've been to the Tour de France in France 7 times. I've done seven trips, and I've probably seen the actual tour pass me something like 50 times, and just the amount of people that you get there is just astonishing. I've been to the tops of mountains, I've been in the middle of small rural towns of France, completely packed with people, and they all want to savour a little bit of the local atmosphere. They all want to eat something. They all want, there's a lot going to happen, and I think we're going to see this on Monday.
And what about the little kiddies who you teach?
Yes.
Who are barely out of stabilisers, who don't really have a particular appreciation of cycling as a sport, and a sport with such great history as it has too. Those great names over the centuries. What do they say to you about what they think the Tour de France is all about?
Do you mean the people I'm training? Or?
Yeah, the people you're training.
Okay.
The little ones in particular.
Do they
know? Do they care about the fringes?
They're not so much. I've expressed it a couple of times, and a few courses. Some of the children, the 10 or 11-year-olds, have said, "Oh yeah, we're really quite interested." But actually, it's been a little less than that. I think they're going to be a lot more excited on the day, because there's this thing called the publicity caravan, which comes past, and they chuck out lots and lots of little freebies as they go along. And I will say, and this is something that usually gets the rush the door, there will be a Haribo cavalcade, I believe. So lots of Haribo sweets floating around.
Right, okay.
Hyperactive kids on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Off their heads on sugar. It's 2:45. Let's let this conversation continue. Radio Cambridge. Jeremy Salis is here alongside James Smith and Rad Wagon. I should mention that Rad, and it's been very popular on YouTube, I don't know if it was you or a colleague, filmed the central Cambridge bit of the Tour de France route, and it's up there on YouTube for anybody who wants to have a little look about how the cyclists will see it next Monday.
Yeah, it was me. I was the person that ended up doing that. The county council asked me to do it, and just to see if we can show off Cambridge in another way, and kind of put together this video, and desperately scrabbling around for the music, and thought, you know what, something last night of the proms-ish, that would work really well. And we've got lots of British composers from East Anglia who could join it. For instance, Holst, that we all think, oh okay, he lived in Thaxted, so he's almost on the route. And so Jupiter's Holst sounded fantastic. There's the beginning British theme as we set off. There's a little bit of Marseillaise in the 1812 overture starting us off, ending in a big explosion, because no, we're not in France yet, we're in Britain. Let's go with the British themes. So Holst, Benjamin Britten, and a whole variety of different British composers, all for us to hear, and a bit of fun to boot.
Very few of us who even cycle in Cambridge will ever see Cambridge like that, most probably. It's on YouTube for those of you who want to have a little route around for it. Jeremy, hi.
Hey.
Jeremy used to be a bike courier, he confessed yesterday. Yeah.
I think you and I tweeted with each other this morning.
Yeah, we did actually. I've caused a mild Twitter storm. I took a photo of my commute this morning, whereby it looks like a bull is standing right in front of me. I think it's a cow.
It's a cow.
I didn't stick around to sex it. But yeah, there was loads of cows on my way to work today, just standing in the road. So I just sort of took a little. You can see my handlebars.
With a bit of cow attitude.
There was a lot of attitude actually, and people have been.
They're totally out there with their attitude, aren't they?
Somebody tweeted me saying as they get older they get friskier, and I said don't we all? Don't we all? But it's quite a nice little photo. So yeah, Jeremy Salas, if you want to have a look at that.
And Radwagon, how lovely to have met you as well. And he's brought in some bunting too.
Of course.
Of course. Whenever you see those teeny weeny little jerseys, wherever you see them across Cambridge in the course of the next week, then know that it was born out of a bonkers idea that Rad has helped bring to life in this city. How nice to meet you.
And you.
Have a cracking weekend. I think you will.
Yes, I think so.
In Yorkshire and here in Cambridge as well. Right, news.